Very good evening and welcome to the programme. So first tonight, a care home owner has been jailed for causing the death of an elderly resident with dementia. And his company's become Britain's first care home firm to be fined for corporate manslaughter.
Today, Nottingham Crown Court heard that 86-year-old Ivy Atkin died due to wanton and reckless neglect at the Autumn Grange home. Tonight, we hear from a whistleblower and the daughter of another resident. Well, our social affairs correspondent Jeremy Bull was in court. You've been following this right from the very beginning. What emerged today?
Well, we heard some really horrific details about what happened and the conditions at Autumn Grange. One care professional said she wouldn't have let a dog live there. Ivy Atkin was found in a bed soaked with urine. She weighed less than 4 stone when she was discovered. We heard that every time she was touched, she was screaming out in pain, and that she had one bed sore that was infected so badly that it caused lethal pneumonia. The businessman whose appalling neglect led to a frail pensioner's death. Today, Yusuf Khan returned to court to be sentenced for Ivy Atkin's manslaughter.
Ate well at tea time. Fluid intake has been good.
Detectives found this meticulous logbook of Ivy Atkin's care. It said she was eating and drinking healthily and her bed sores were being checked. But it was a work of fiction.
In 48 days, she lost almost half her body weight. She was emaciated, she was dehydrated. It was plain for the eye to see that she was malnourished. She had a terrible bed sore, and all of those things combined together, ultimately, to cause her death.
The police were called to Autumn Grange by a worried care assistant. Another worker told me she was forced to cut corners to save money. We agreed to protect her identity.
It was horrible. When the residents were ill, when you say to them you want to ring the hospital, they'll say, just give them paracetamol, because when they're in the hospital, the home is not being paid. If an accident happened, they would prefer you not to write the accident report. There was no sheets to change the resident's bed. Sometimes there were no pads to change them. Sometimes there was no tea bags for them during tea time.
Ivy died just over a fortnight after Autumn Grange was shut down. The court heard that she looked like a skeleton and her condition was irreversible. Jailing Khan for gross negligence manslaughter, the judge said there'd been a catalogue of breaches of duty and serious and systemic failings. Failings that were the direct cause of Ivy Atkin's death. Now Yusuf Khan's beginning a sentence of 3 years and 2 months in prison. He admitted his guilt last December. After that hearing, he spoke to us about Ivy's lack of care.
Yeah, I'm very remorseful for that.
What have you got to say to her family?
Words can't express what I need to say to them. But, I'm a God-fearing person, and I hope they find it in their hearts if I've made some mistakes, and I do apologise.
But some of Ivy's former neighbours here in Rise Park think it's unforgivable. They're appalled by the way she was treated after moving to Autumn Grange.
They're some of the most vulnerable people in our society, and these were people who were left to wallow in urine-sodden, faeces-covered mattresses.
And how shocked were you by what you saw?
Autumn Grange is, in my view, a standalone in terms of its appalling conditions. I don't often get angry in cases, but it's what Yusuf Khan signed a contract to say that he would deliver, and he frankly didn't.
And tonight Yusuf Khan won't have much to smile about, because he'll be in the care of Her Majesty's Prison Service.
Jeremy, as we mentioned, this case really is a legal first, isn't it?
It is, yeah. The Crown prosecution told me this is the first time that a British care home firm has been prosecuted for corporate manslaughter. Today, Khan's company, Sherwood Rise Limited, received a fine of £300,000. And we heard they ignored a catalogue of complaints from staff and from regulators. They were also getting complaints from families of residents, people like Evadne Fisher, whose mother, Gay, was living at Autumn Grange.
She was very fashionable, my mum. She absolutely adored her clothes, and this was the height of fashion at the time. She went into Autumn Grange when she was 91. It was clean, everything was perfect. It was brilliant.
But then you started to become concerned, didn't you?
There was a change in management, and they were trying to cut corners. Things like the carers at night, the night staff had to do the laundry, which meant they obviously, when they were doing the laundry, weren't busy caring. Our mother was never ready, sometimes she wasn't dressed. I just thought it was disgusting. And I had decided that I was going to get it closed down.
How badly let down do you think your mother was by Autumn Grange?
Well, Yusuf Khan, He was the one I used to have the rows with. He was rude. I used to walk in and he used to greet me and say, "Oh, here's trouble again, got any more problems today?" Night staff said, "Your mother's been in a fight. The lift's broken." They put them all together in the same lounge and there were only, I think, 6 blankets between the 8 residents. The problem was my mother did not get on with this other resident. Night staff obviously didn't realise that, put them next to each other, went away to do something and came back, and apparently there was blood everywhere and my mother's arms were virtually without any skin.
You must have been horrified.
I was horrified, appalled, amazed that that sort of thing could happen in this day and age.
And then there was an incident where you found out there'd been a fire.
The boiler blew up. He said, "Oh, well, I'll have to tell you because somebody's bound to. We forgot your mum." And they said, "But she's okay, and there was no fire up there." And I went, "That's not the point. Why didn't you have a roll call? Why didn't you have a proper..." And all I got was a shrug.
And then you heard about Ivy Atkin.
I cried because Ivy was lovely. She used to sit in the lounge with my mum. She was always smiling. She was sweet. She was a lovely lady. We should have known. We should have seen something. We should have done something. I just went, good God, you know, that could have been my mum.
Oh, Jeremy, I can't believe it. But why do things go so wrong? How did it get that bad?
Well, today the judge said it was incompetence, that Yusuf Khan was inept. He'd taken over his dad's business without any experience of running a care home. Today, Khan's barrister said that because conditions were so deplorable and so shameful that he'd never forgive himself. We also heard today that there's still going to be an inquest and a serious case review.
OK, Jeremy, thank you very much.
Thank you. Still to come.